Okay, what's up, people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always, guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the week. Make sure you do check out the Elevating Traders Discord channel, completely free to join. Link to that in the description below. Also, at the top of the chat, you can't miss it. Join the Discord, completely free to join. Chat with other traders, myself, find out more information about Elevating Traders if you are looking for it. And of course, just join the discussions. I share ideas there. So if you're looking to participate or just follow along, check it out. Completely free to join. Links in the description. But guys, welcome back to another week in the markets. Hope everyone is well. Lighton, what is up? Good to have you on the stream, my man. Hope you're doing good. Ahmed, as always, hope you're doing good. Yes, I had a good weekend. Hope you did as well. As always, we'll go through the DXY. USD side of things, so USD majors, gold and silver. Any requests, let me know. Any markets you're looking at or just want my opinion on, feel free to drop it down in the chat. Of course, if there's a particular time frame you do want me to look at as well, let me know so I can get to it. But in terms of the dollar, it's very much still the same old past few weeks, really, in terms of the market structure. We've shifted bearish, at least on the 4-hour chart. Again, we haven't taken out any major lows, so I'm not necessarily looking for a massive move to the downside for the dollar just yet. If we can break structure, more importantly, break through this low, then that's when I'll turn very, very bearish on the dollar and looking for a pretty big trend to the downside. However, we're still in a situation where this could still be a more complex pullback for price to continue to the upside and possibly follow this bullish trend here, and this could be the continuation still, or it could be the start of potentially price forming some counter trend and potentially a reversal. So we're still kind of in in a situation where we're not too sure in terms of the big move, or at least I am anyway. But at least in terms of opportunities and the short, medium term outlook, I am looking for shorts. I like this area here, which I highlighted on the weekly analysis. If you didn't check it out, make sure you go do so. Price has been printing these lower highs and lower lows. So of course that's the original high, low, lower high, new lows. So the plan this week is looking for a pullback for the dollar, for price to then see another lower high in relation to those two previous highs and see a continuation back into the lows and possibly back into the lows here as well. But we'll wait and see if price breaks through or maybe respect it and turn around. But this is the move I'm looking to capitalize on this week or whenever it does develop, a pullback into roughly the 108, 108.5 area. Looking for some opportunities to take dollar to the downside and, of course, potentially buy euro, buy pound. Depends which USD pair does set up well for me. But this is the outlook I do have here with the DXY. So taking that information into euro, I'm pretty much looking at the exact opposite of that, which is, again, you've got the first low here, price created a high, new high, low there. Potentially, we haven't quite created a new high yet. We have revisited that resistance, but haven't quite broken through. But again, the plan this week is to look for another higher low in comparison to those two previous higher lows. I marked on this area here as a low price created past this point here. So we do have some bullish structure over here as well. Not the most confident structure in the world, but market is still pushing to the upside. And I marked out this trend line here as well. So I kind of want to see a deep pullback this week for euro, which lines up, to be fair, with what I'm looking at with the dollar. I'm looking at a deeper correction for the dollar this week. We do have some bearish structure, probably more on the lower time frames to look at here, but I'm looking at a slightly bigger pullback. Not really interested in the shorter term. Euro USD, same thing as well. Want to see a bigger pullback, and also because euro is very, very corrective. It's another type of market which is seeing a lot of momentum and inviting me into some aggressive buys. If we just look at the context of Euro USD the past few weeks, it's been incredibly flat, more or less equal highs, more or less equal lows. The market hasn't really gone anywhere, and we haven't really seen too much momentum in a clear direction. So overall, the market is really flat. But what we can take from that is that, okay, we've been very bearish for a while, seeing a lot of momentum. Now that has disappeared. So potentially we're forming a bit of a bottom here to push the upside. So that's the way I'm looking at euro. Which is, again, why I do have that bullish bias for Euro USD. So because we're very, very choppy, means I want to buy down low and make sure my entries are as close to the extremes of the market structure as possible. I can get a safe stop loss and maximize my risk reward if I am trading in the right direction. And waiting for a deeper pullback into this territory here around 1.03 would do that for me. Price has enough time to see a nice downside move whilst I can find some entries in a relatively safe place, have a relatively safe stop loss and a decent target, at least back to the highs again, possibly maybe even back to resistance up here. So Euro USD still under the impression that we are getting ready for a turn. But in terms of entries, entering at these prices aren't really looking too great, especially at resistance, seeing really strong rejections of that, not really adding up. So I want to see move to the downside first and then some upside. Pound USD likewise as well. Of course, a very similar market to Euro, and it's always nice to see them moving in sync. And Pound USD, I'm getting a similar situation here as well. I'm liking this kind of bullish channel the market is moving in, connecting these higher lows, and you kind of got the higher highs there as well. So I'm looking for another push to the downside for Pound and another up move. I've talked a lot about that 1.25 level, really key support previously and resistance as well. So as we look to our left, you can see really strong support once, twice, then was acting resistance once, twice as well. So this is an area which price has paid a lot of attention to, and there's a good chance we could bounce from this area. Should we come back to revisit, of course, see some entry signals, wicks, candlestick patterns, and of course, you do have that lovely trend line confluence, which is where I'm looking for the next higher low in this pattern. So 1, 2, 3, looking for number 4 for another bounce to the upside, at least back to highs, but more so if we can get back to resistance here on the left. Again, looking at Pound USD in the bigger picture on the higher time frames, we are coming from a pretty strong low. Price came back from, back into this area here, which gave us a really big move to the upside and created new highs past this point, and we have respected that. And of course, now we're starting to see some higher highs and higher lows. So I wonder, is Pound USD going to see a similar move? Again, that could take a long time, so I'm not necessarily looking to trade that, but it's nice to know that, okay, we possibly could see that, and we're trading that in that direction in favor of the higher time frame, which is always a good confluence to have in your trading. If you've got the higher time frame backing, you'd want that rather than not. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at there for Pound USD. There's major resistance over here on the left, and wonder potentially going to be attracted to that area. But in terms of the setup anyway, I'm looking for some downside for Pound, buys in this area, then looking for some longs. A pretty straightforward setup there for Pound USD. Dollar CAD, I still really like dollar CAD to the downside as well. As you can see, most of these USD pairs I'm favoring USD weakness, not only because the DXY looks like we could see weakness, but also the price action on the USD majors are giving me information that the market's likely to show more weakness for the dollar. Dollar CAD included. Lovely consolidation here as well. Again, the real thing here with dollar CAD is the massive spike we got to the upside and massive follow through we got back to the downside. This type of characteristic is really something I'm looking for in terms of price impulsing in one direction and then pulsing back down, especially at the tops of trends, and especially when we're hitting really big levels of resistance on the higher time frames, which is exactly what dollar CAD did. Major resistance if you zoom out once, twice, and now they're a third time. I'm not saying that we're going to get a massive sell-off like we did previously, but it's an area where definitely buyers will be looking to take profits, sellers looking to jump into the market. We could see a reaction, and so far we have seen a reaction, and all I'm looking to do is capitalize on that and expect a bit more downside. So in terms of the price action, we had a lovely range here for dollar CAD. Price broke to the upside, now has follow through to the opposite direction. So I'm expecting more follow through in that direction. In terms of entries, I want to see a retest of that range, and then on our way we go. That is really my outlook there for dollar CAD. I don't really want to see price break to the upside. I mean, I wouldn't be adverse. I wouldn't change my bias. I may still look for entries up at the high here, but this is definitely my more preferred level of choice, 1.43. If we do break through, it depends how we look. If we break impulsively, that might put me off, but if it's still corrective, I may look for entries at 1.445. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. In terms of Aussie dollar, I like this to the upside as well. So again, favoring that USD weak bias, looking for a similar opportunity as with dollar CAD, which is the retest of this range here. I did say watch out for this range here last week because we might not see that bigger pullback, We have seen a slight reaction, but hasn't really amounted to much. So possibly maybe the bigger pullback is happening. This is always the area I've been interested in on the 4-hour chart. If I can get some entries here, that would help maximize my risk reward, at least for a push back into the high. I do think we can go further as well. Looking at Aussie dollar on the weekly chart, again, look where we're situated. Really strong level of support, massive reaction to the upside, and we're back there again as well. So really comfortable level of support. Markets respected it well. Nice double bottom down here. A really aggressive reaction there as well. And since then, prices broke structure to the upside and given us a bit of a bullish trend. So again, for Aussie dollar, looking for a pullback, a high low, and some more upside, at least for a push back into the high. So nothing too crazy. I have pinpointed some levels on the left we can consult in terms of extended targets if you're looking to really stretch the trade, which I think you're in a good place to do so. Coming from a big level, if the trend is reversing, if this bearish trend here has really met its end, there could be a lot of upside. So trying to push trade is not the worst idea in the world. But again, if you're looking for something sensible, let's say if we do get pulled back here, then of course a push back to the high we came from is always a logical target to have. In terms of New Zealand dollar, which is very similar pair to Aussie dollar, again, similar kind of analysis as well. Lovely double bottom here. Price has since broken structure to the upside, expecting more upside in general. Again, coming back into a very strong weekly level of support as well. Again, the bigger move for New Zealand dollar may still be to the downside, but at least expecting some type of reaction before maybe that does kick in. We'll speak about that maybe in a couple of weeks' time. But for now, still looking at more upside. This one's already printed some nice structure on the 4-hour chart, some higher highs and higher lows. So again, expecting the repeat of the same. We've got a nice brief pause there in the market. I think from an intraday perspective, if you're looking at more the hourly chart or 30-minute chart, New Zealand dollar could be a nice pair to look at for a retest of that consolidation. Again, for a push back to the high. And again, similar to Aussie dollar, there's some areas here on the left you can look at for some targets if you want to stretch trade a bit further. But from an intraday point of view, if you can get it back to the high, that would be a really nice position. And then in terms of gold and silver, these ones, I'm still overall generally bullish for both of them, but I need the price action to clean up a little bit. Gold kind of stuck at the highs here a little bit. Looks like, are we trying to break to the upside? Are we trying to respect the level? It's a bit miss and match right now of gold. All I'm really looking for is a powerful break to the upside to reinstate that bullish bias and tell me that, okay, the buyers are very much in control and the trend is still very much alive, because the trend's been going on for quite a long time. It's very extended. We'll be expecting a bigger pullback at some stage. Of course, when that will happen, we don't know. We can still keep pushing. There's this big psychological level here at 3K. I wonder if price wants to go and hit that first before potentially pulling back. If we do see a strong break of that resistance, there could be some nice buys in the low time frames to write it up potentially to 3K. So that's something to look at. If we do respect the resistance and start to come back down again, I'm just going to wait to see how price develops, because right now we're stuck in between a rock and a hard place right now, between resistance and support. So all we've been doing over the past week or so is just bouncing in between these two levels. And if we push back down, we're coming back into support. So I can't really do too much with that with gold. If we can break to the downside, great. That means we're probably going to see a bit of a pullback now. If we break to the upside, okay, the trend's just going to continue. And we possibly start looking for 3K. So in terms of my interest for gold, it really does rely on the breakout of the support resistance. Then we can look for some momentum and some follow through. At the moment, it's a little bit dry. Silver likewise as well, not really showing momentum as well. Again, price had a very dodgy close last week. This was Friday's candle, came back pretty aggressively. And if I go to the weekly chart, you can see that we're still firing a lot of wicks to the upside. And it looks like price is trying to break through the resistance, but it's struggling a little bit. Again, I'm still expecting us to come back into resistance up there. That's still the target I have for silver. But you can see in the weekly chart, we're just firing wick after wick after wick in this area. So from a higher time frame perspective, we're struggling to break through. On the daily chart, looks like we are trading above the level, but I need to see if we can hold this as support and turn around. If not, if we come back below, things get very awkward for silver and possibly might see a bit of a move to the opposite direction. So right now, I would suggest silver's coming back to test some very strong support. If we do hold, then we have a good chance to see the continuation of the trend. If we don't, then yeah, I'm going to back away from silver because we might see a big move to the downside. But very strong support here. Nice resistance on the 4-hour chart is going to be acting as support. We did last week. Let's see if we can maintain that. If so, then I do expect upside. If we break below, like I said, I'll back away. That possibly means a deeper retracement, which I'm not really interested in trading. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the USD. Overall, pretty bullish on pretty bullish on gold and silver. Pretty bearish on the dollar itself for now. I do expect a bit of a pullback. So again, temporarily, we might see some USD strength, but I would expect it to be a pullback. I could go to the dollar. So expecting it to be a bit of a pullback, and I'm looking for shorts around there. So that's the idea I have right now for the USD pairs. What's up, Babu? Welcome to the stream. Yes, I will take a look at Germany 40 for you. We'll take a look at the DAX, no problem. Paul, what is up? Waiting for a pullback on the yen pairs. Likewise as well. I'm very bearish on the yen pairs and expecting a lot more downside. Some a little bit awkward, but generally speaking, yen looks very strong, and I think we'll probably see a lot more downside for the yen pairs over the next few weeks, few months potentially as well. So yeah, very much just looking to short them, looking for good opportunities to short them. That's the goal. And a lot of downside momentum last week, and I expect more of the same, but we'll go through the yen pairs. Lighton, no problem. Happy to help my man for dollar CAD and Aussie dollar. Ahmed, GJ, Euro Yen as well. We'll take a look. No problem. I'll go for the DAX quickly. Then we'll take a look at Pound Yen and Euro Yen. Yusuf, what's up? My weekend was good. Thank you for asking. I am doing well. Hope you're well too, and hope your weekend was good too. Good morning, Dark Sean. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. As usual, thoughts on GJ for today. I'm hunting for a sell position, although I think a pullback is most likely for today. Okay, I'll go through the DAX quickly, then I'll take a look at GJ and Euro Yen. Yen pairs are pretty interesting. So in terms of the DAX, not yesterday, sorry. Last week I was talking about some shorts on a lower high. We did see that reaction pretty well. I said, as we approach this area here, keep an eye for some sell opportunities because at the moment we do have a bit of a counter trend here, and the DAX has gone exploded to the upside. So I'm expecting some retracement for the DAX, but of course we've got to be very careful because this is a very, very bullish market. So if you're shorting this, you're always up against it. Not that you shouldn't short, because there will be times to take some good sell opportunities. But you got to be careful and be very specific because if the market wants to continue, it's going to continue. But anyway, we talked about this area here last week. It did provide a nice reaction. Very aggressive retracement, though. Very impulsive push. I didn't see that last time I looked at the DAX. I believe we were trading around here, and I was looking for the pullback there. Looks like we had a dip first, and then price came into the zone. Nice reaction, but looks like support held and prices shot back up. So I would be a little bit cautious about shorting the DAX right now. Not because it's not a good area to short from, but because, like I said, the trend is still very much very, very bullish. So you have to take everything in context. It's not like we're coming from a long-standing bearish trend where you can be a bit more aggressive. We're coming from a long-standing bullish trend. So because we've had an impulsive push and the market's reacted very well at support and push right back into the level, that is a bit of a red flag for me in terms of the sells. In terms of the buys, though, if we should break to the upside, so if price can break through the resistance here, through that supply zone, then that will tell me, okay, we're back bullish again, and then pullbacks and lower time frames will look really good. And then we can trade it back to the highs, which is at 22,929. So in terms of a buying opportunity, I think if we were to break through, a nice opportunity would present on some retests because this is the bearish structure you've put in place. Really big drop, lower high, lower low, possibly still could be a lower high. But based on how aggressive we push to the upside and based on how aggressive the current bullish trend is, should we take resistance here and break to the upside, that's a big sign that says, okay, buyers are back in control. This bearish move was just a pullback, most likely, and we should be on our way back to retest the highs there. So something like this will look good. Again, probably want to drop maybe to the lower time frames, like 30 or 50 minute. This is the hourly chart here for the DAX. But overall, it does look pretty bullish on the higher time frames. And yeah, we might not be seeing that retracement just yet. So onwards and upwards for the DAX. Shorts, I'd back away. Longs, I'd wait for the break of that structure, then look for some pullbacks. Okay, so I'll go through GJ and Euro yen. So I'll quickly go through GJ on the 5-minute chart. For dark on, let's see what's happening. I'll drop to the hourly, 4-hour, daily chart as well. Okay, so pound yen, we did see, whoa, that was a really big drop there. Last time on the stream was Friday, and I remember we were trading around here. Did you catch the break and retest dark on last week? Very aggressive drop there. Didn't really see much for a pullback. I was expecting to see the breakout and then hopefully some nice pullbacks and some lower highs on the way down, but we absolutely dropped on Friday, which I know we did, but I just didn't look in the 5-minute chart. Very, very aggressive move. But anyway, we created new lows past this point and potentially could be looking at another lower high forming. However, we still do have room to the upside for potentially that move to happen. I'm looking at this area here, which is, of course, where all the momentum came from. This is where we stalled for a little bit, and then we had that capitulation to the downside, really aggressive move. I wonder if price was to come back and revisit that area first before possibly looking at continuation, especially looking at how price has moved here as well. Really strong push to the upside and almost a very corrected move back down. This could just be like a weird bull flag for price to correct before seeing another push to the upside, which perhaps could see the retest of that area which I just mentioned, and then possibly might see the follow through back into the lows. Because overall, I'm very bearish here on pound yen on the 4-hour chart, on the 5-minute chart. We have seen pretty consistent lower highs here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So overall structure is pointing down. I'm still expecting us to push back into the lows here. That's what I'm expecting price to get to. So on the 5-minute chart, I'm seeing bearish structure. Higher time frame, I'm seeing bearish structure. So I would be pretty bearish here for pound yen. And the plan very much is looking for another lower high, for another lower low. So in terms of direction, I know what I want to do here with pound yen. But in terms of where we get that lower high in, I do like that area there. And judging how price is moving right now, it is looking like a bit of a bull flag for possibly a reaction to go higher before we come down. So that would be my preferred area of choice. The only situation is we might not get there. So you might be sitting on your hands for a while for an opportunity which doesn't present. Maybe we push back into the high here, double top it and sell. That could be a situation. But in terms of the location, I like that area there on the 5-minute. But yeah, I would wait for a bigger pullback here. I mean, I would only be looking to sell here really in the 5. There might be some temporary buys, but I think the bigger move is still with the sellers. So I would still be looking to short. That area looks nice. And yeah, this still give me bull flag vibes. So I would hold out for a bigger move and catch the sell around 190. Of course, depending how price gets there, how we look, there might be a nice short there. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with pound yen on the 5-minute. I'll drop to the 4-hour in a second. What's up, Chimidi? Hope you're well. I'm actually Yoruba, but hope you're doing good. Dark Shun, what you know as well. Okay. Doesn't matter, man. There's many opportunities in the market, and there'll be many opportunities which you'll be away for in the future as well. But there's more than enough opportunity there. Don't have to catch them all. But yeah, 5-minute chart, still looking pretty bearish. I will look for a little bit of a pullback before some sells. That's kind of my outlook there. Paul, what's up? Do you buy into pullbacks, or would that be a bit dangerous? It depends on the situation. Most of the time, I just wait for pullbacks to happen, then I take the continuation of the trend, because most of my trades, I'm looking for the continuation of the trend. I'm not really looking to go against that. Sometimes I will take some counter trend opportunities, but I would only do that if there is a bit of a trend in the opposite direction. So I know that the higher time frame trend might still be bearish, for example, but there's a small bullish trend forming. I can still take some small opportunities of that bullish trend whilst it does develop and maybe look to sell later on. But I'm always looking to catch the tops and the bottoms of pullback. So if there's a trend in the market, let's say we're bearish and the market pulls back, I'm always looking to try and catch where that high of that pullback is going to form, so I can then hold it back into the low and maybe even further as well, depending on the opportunity. But I'm always looking to catch the highs and lows of pullback and just continue the overall trend. That's very much my outlook and how I trade. Lauda, what's up? Good morning. Hope you're well. Happy Monday to you as well. Not with, I thought I see these alone sometimes. Yeah, again, the market's not, the market repeats itself, but it's not exactly. You'll get some very nice textbook pullbacks. It looks like the market has just done something you would see in a textbook, to be honest. Then there'll be times where the market is just a little bit weird. Not weird. Weird's probably the wrong word to use, but it will look slightly different. Maybe the pullback is just a bit more deeper. So it's not your textbook bull flag. It comes a bit deeper, but it's the same idea. You get different variations of the same thing, but the concept is still the same thing. The market forms a low, takes the low out, and then we see the continuation of the trend. That's the concept of a bull flag, whether it takes the low just a little bit, or it goes really deep and then pushes, or maybe takes out a couple times and then has a move. You'll get different variations of the same thing. So when I say weird, I just mean it's just a bit of a different bull flag there, but it's the same idea. We've taken out that low and there's still a lot of bullish momentum. So I wonder if we're going to continue that before seeing the big sell. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with pound yen. No problem, Paul. Happy to help. Afonso, on to GJ should hit 150.77. Okay, I'll look at GJ and Euro yen now. So yeah, with pound yen on the higher time frames, the 4-hour chart, the analysis is still the same, looking for a lot more downside. I'm expecting these lows to be taken out pretty soon. Longer term, I'm looking for these lows to be taken out pretty soon. Alfonso, you mentioned 150, so you're looking for a colossal move here for pound yen. 150 would take us all the way back to here-ish. That's a very, very big move. This is the weekly chart. To put things into context, if I was to measure that, you're looking at about a 3,600 pip move, which is not a small one, even for pound yen. Possibly we could get there long term. I'm personally not too interested about the longer term targets, because of course we might not get there for a whole couple of years or a year. There will be many opportunities between now and then. But I am interested in this target, which, in terms of a week or two, a very bearish couple of weeks, we could be there in no time, really. And potentially we could hit your target in no time too, but it's just very, very far away. But to be honest, I do think we could actually go and hit 150 as well. I do have a longer term bearish bias too. But more kind of immediately, I'm looking at this low here. And of course, definitely this low here, which is just within touching distance. But in terms of opportunities, we've had this aggressive pullback and the market's kind of just been slowly pushing to the downside. So a couple of weeks ago, I was looking for price to come back and retest the high for a double top and then sell. Unfortunately, didn't quite set up like that, so I didn't get the entry, and price has just been slowly pushing to the downside. So in terms of a new trade idea for me for pound yen, I'm very much looking for price to go and take out these lows now, and then look for the next pullback after that, and hopefully I'll get the entry I'm looking for to participate in a move, perhaps maybe the retest of this low. We'll have to see how we break out and how much momentum there is in the market. But something like this would interest me to see if I can catch the next lower high and 1, 2, 3, and then short on that confluence. That's something I'm keeping in mind for pound yen. But again, that could take its time to develop. So Um, I'm keeping one eye on pound yen, but I don't expect this setup to happen overnight. So it's nothing I have to get um, too worked up about now, because it could still take a while before that does form. But that's something I'm looking at for pound yen. The idea is still the same, looking at more downside, looking for this wick to be eventually be taken out. Um, and now I'm just waiting for a good trade to get involved. The pullback here didn't quite give me an entry that fit the plan, so I stay out of the market. And we've been just slowly kind of rolling over to the downside. So I'm kind of hoping pound yen could pick up the pace a little bit, break these lows, and then hopefully we find another pullback to get involved and right to the downside. But this is the plan here for pound yen, keeping it pretty simple. As I've said in the daily chart, I'm looking for the continuation of this bearish leg, very much treating this as just a pullback or a correction of that bearish move last July. And I'm looking for us to continue back to the lows and take out the lows. So more downside I'm expecting here for pound yen. I will take a look at euro yen. I did have my 70 profit taken in the morning, so I'm not that emotional about it dropping euro. Okay, fair enough. I've already hit the target. No need to give back profits unless it's a good opportunity, because you don't want a situation where you do take a good trade and then because you've hit a nice winner, you don't want to take another trade just because you don't want to give back profits. As long as there's another good trade, you should always be looking to take it. But of course, if there's another trade but it doesn't quite set up, you might as well just sit on your profits at that point. But if it's a good trade, might as well take advantage. But I hear you, Dark Sean. Oh, I missed that word. 150 today. If we talk 150 in general, that would be a historic move if we're going to hit 150 today for GJ. Okay, I'll go through. I'm actually in a couple trades. I'll go through my positions in a moment. I'll just go through euro yen because Amma did request that a while ago. But I've only looked for one of the pairs. So I'll go through euro yen quickly. Then I'll go to a couple positions I'm in. I'll go through them. Then we'll just go through the rest of the yen pairs in general. Okay, you mean use the JPY? Okay, I was going to say you've got a buy order at 150 for GJ would be crazy. That position would be just catching dust before price gets there. But dollar yen, that makes sense. We'll take a look at dollar yen in a moment. Paul, what risk reward do you personally use? I use a 1 to 2. I don't use a set risk reward. It does depend on the setup. From my testing and my experience, it's a bit more. It's been more profitable to alter your risk reward depending on the setup rather than using a fixed risk reward, because it allows you to kind of bend and be flexible to the market. Because some situations it makes sense to run the trade, some it doesn't make sense to run the trade. So in terms of my risk to reward, it probably averages just underneath a 1 to 3. But again, that could change a lot. Some will run to 1 to 5, 6s, and some I might be out for a little over 1 to 1. Like my pound USD a couple of weeks back was a 1 to 1.9, I think. But if the trade is right, I will push to 1 to 6s plus. So I don't look for specific risk to reward. I look to make sure that my average risk to reward is a lot bigger than my average loss, and my average win is a lot bigger than my average loss. But I don't use a fixed risk to reward. From my experience, it's more profitable to kind of, um, depending on the setup, either to have a slightly bigger or smaller target, depending on the setup. But a 1 to 2 is a good risk reward as well. I'm not saying you won't be profitable with that. 100% no. It's just for my testing. I try to be flexible. But 1 to 2 risk reward is good as well. As long as the profit is bigger than the loss, I'm always a big fan. Okay, so yeah, I'm in a couple positions. I've been in Aussie Chef since last week Wednesday, not last week Wednesday, the week before Wednesday. So yeah, the 12th of Feb. So yeah, been in this position for a while. It hasn't really done anything, to be honest. We did see some nice momentum initially, but it's been a slow kind of grind to the upside. Respected the high pretty well. Last week we had a nice sell on Friday, and now price is more or less just above my entry. So again, the plan with the trade is still looking for the continuation of this trend on Aussie CHF in the 4-hour chart. We've got one high, second high, looking for a third one. We pull back into a nice trend line, and we're still respecting resistance. On the higher time frames, we do have that longer term bearish trend at play, which I'm still looking for the continuation of. There is some really strong support here, so I'm looking to see if we can at least get back to test that support level. And then if we can get the breakout, I'll be looking to hold the position a little bit further back to the low here. I'll take most of my profit, but I'll leave some positions to run to see if I can get it back to that low. Because overall, if the trend's going to continue, we most likely are going to get to these lows. So it's a trade that has room to run, but also a very big level on our hands there. So I have to be careful with that. But the idea with the trade, again, is looking to catch the next lower high in this sequence. We've had a really corrective pullback, was always nice to see, which means that the chance of us seeing a big move to the upside is slim, or at least lowered. And the possibility for follow through to the downside is a lot higher. So we're going to see how that does play out. Like I said, did take this almost a couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago. So we're going to see how that gets on. And this morning I hopped into a Euro Aussie position. Price came back to retest some structure here on the 4-hour chart. Really nice level of support, as you can see, once, twice, and now resistance here. We've got these lower highs, 1, 2, and 3 over there. I'm at least looking for a push back into the low, which is roughly just over a 1-to-1. And I'm looking to see if I can hold positions back to the low here, because that's my overall target of Euro Aussie. But I'm not going to look for that move in one go, just because I'm not really situated in a place where it makes sense to hold for a bigger swing. Like the Aussie CHF trade I just explained, I'm right at the top of the structure in a place where major low high could form. So it makes sense to try and stretch that trade, because I've got a stop loss in a relatively safe space. Here on this position, on the other hand, it doesn't really make too much sense. Yes, I'm above structure there, but again, it's a very choppy market. So it makes sense to be short and sweet with these type of trades, because the market fluctuates a lot. The longer you're in the trade, the longer, or the greater chance for price to fluctuate and take your stop loss out. So I kind of want to be in and out with this position. So that means a push back to the low. But because the bigger move I'm looking at is very much this kind of head and shoulder pattern here. Left head, right shoulder. We broke out the consolidation finally. I am looking for a push back into this low here. So that's the bigger move I do expect to see happen. But because I'm not really situated in the place where it makes sense to stretch that trade and target those lows, I'm only going to leave a small position to run to see if we can get there. But for now, at least looking for a push back into the low. Nice confluence, nice rejection on the 4-hour chart. Solid level of support. Now flips to resistance. We'll see how well it does hold. But yeah, that's my expectation with Euro Aussie. I'll go through Euro Yen, because again, I was supposed to go through that before, but I have forgotten. Apologies. We'll go through Euro Yen right now, and then I'll just go through the rest of the yen pairs. To be honest, we'll take a look at dollar yen as well. But Euro Yen, I'm still pretty bearish on this one. The head and shoulder pattern looks pretty nice as well. We've got a left shoulder here. We've got a head over there. We've got a right shoulder there as well. We've got a lovely neckline of the pattern, and I'm looking for price to break that to the downside. And again, I'm looking at a much longer term move here for Euro Yen. So in terms of the bias, the analysis, I'm expecting a really big drop there for Euro Yen. But again, in terms of trading, it's a little bit difficult now, because we're approaching support. So it doesn't really make too much sense to be selling the market right now. I'd quite rather price makes the move through the zone. Then I can start looking for some opportunities below it on the retest and expecting more downside. Or if price does push back up again, perhaps we create another lower high. That would be appreciated. Continuation of these lower highs, 2, 3, 4, perhaps number 5. Maybe price comes back to retest some structure on the left. Yeah, that would entertain myself, because at least now I'm back in bearish structure. I'm not selling directly into support. and I can still profit on the move between this level and that target there. And if I catch the breakout, great, I can leave some positions to run. But yeah, euro yen, the bias is definitely bearish. It's either we pull back away from the zone and I look for some entries a lot higher, closer to 160, or we make a move through the level and then I can start looking to short again and find the next lower high in that sequence. But yeah, very, very bearish on euro yen. I don't really see an opportunity right now because number one, I'm very bearish in the market and we've already seen that kind of move happen. So I kind of missed the boat on that. And number two, we're approaching some really, really big support on the daily chart. So in terms of shorting, at least on the 4-hour chart, doesn't really make too much sense. Of course, if you're kind of very intraday, you can probably catch a smaller position back into the low, like on the 15-minute chart, something like that. So that would make sense, but not on the time frames I'm looking at. So yeah, the move's kind of done its thing. Any price to either pull back again or break through support. But yeah, expecting a lot more downside for euro yen. Expecting a lot more downside. Okay, so I'll go through the rest of the yen pairs. We'll start with dollar yen. Funds risk reward should be more than a 1-to-1, not set amount, depends on the currency entry. Why the market gives 3, 4, 10, 15. True, yeah. I mean that's my kind of my thinking as well. I think by default, just having a risk reward greater than a 1-to-1, so it means that okay, if you do take a win, you make more than when you do lose. It means that even if you have a win rate of 40%, you're still making a profit. Of course, depends how big of the winner it is, but you can have a win rate below 50 and still be very, very profitable. Depends how big your risk reward is. So just having a bigger winner is just naturally a better decision to make. Doesn't have to be 1-to-5s or anything. It can just be a little bit more than 1-to-1 or even a 1-to-1. There's profitable traders there as well. I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong, but I'm just always a big fan of having your winners bigger than your losses. But yeah, from my experience, my testing as well, it's been better to not have a fixed risk reward. Fixed risk reward is good in terms of consistency because you don't have to kind of question your target so much in terms of, okay, I know my fixed risk reward is a 1-to-2. As soon as I take a position, my target is twice my risk. I let the market do its thing, see if it's going to hit my target or it's not. So it makes it allows for less error because, of course, us humans, we tend to get in the way of ourselves and make up things which are not there just because we might be a bit greedy or a bit fearful. So having a fixed risk reward is beneficial in that regard and allows you to be a bit more consistent. But it's not optimal in terms of you're looking to really maximize your profit potential because, as Alfonso mentioned, some trades will just have that potential to go a lot further, and it makes sense for them to go further. It's not that just, okay, I don't know, maybe a magical trade might just go and hit 1-to-10. It might just make sense for the market to see that type of move based on where you're situated, based on the entry, based on the scenario of the market. It makes sense for that 1-to-10 to happen. Therefore, you should target the 1-to-10 because it makes sense. Of course, you'll find that in your testing. I'm not saying just make up as you go along. You need to be well tested in terms of your strategy and your approach. But sometimes the bigger risk reward will make sense for that to happen. Other times it wouldn't as well. So a fixed risk reward does cap your profits because once it hits that 1-to-2, 1-to-3, whatever, you're out the trade. Even if it makes sense for it to continue, you're not there to capitalize on it. But like I said, there's other pros to having fixed risk reward, which is that you have consistency, you don't have to think too much, and it's a bit more automated. So it depends what you're after. There is no right and wrong in trading as long as you're making a profit. That's always my outlook. But if you're looking to really maximize profits, you want to see how you can be a bit more flexible with your targets. In terms of dollar yen, so dollar yen I'm very bearish on as well. I'm looking for a big sell for this one. The targets are back at these lows here, at least the longer term targets are anyway. Back at 140, excuse me. I'm very bearish on this one. We are coming back into some major support. Looks like we are starting to break through this weekly level, which I think is a really big sign that, okay, we really could let fly here. So that's something I want to point out, but I would want to see a more confident break. We've only just about cleared the low. And last time we did that, we actually still found support. So I want price to really show me a bit more conviction, and then yeah, that would really be a big sign that says, okay, we're probably going to sell off now. But in terms of the lower time frames, the 4-hour chart specifically, I do want to see this low here on the left go. Very important low, as this low gave us this new higher high past this point here. So a low that gives a new higher high, gives us structure, is a low that, if price comes back to respect, we could see the continuation of that move, continuation of that trend. So the potential of a higher high is still there. This is a very strong low, strong level of support as well. Price could still very much bounce at this level, but I'm not interested in the buys. As I said, I'm very bearish on the yen pairs. I'm looking for a big sell here. So what I want to see in terms of my bearish outlook is a break of structure, a break of this low. Tell me that, okay, the buyers are not holding support here, and the sellers are still strong. And of course, at that point, I'm no longer be expecting a higher low to fall. The chances of that happening are very, very slim at this moment in time. And then I'll be looking for pullbacks for a lot more downside. And then, of course, then my longer term targets will look good to be hit. So in terms of dollar yen, I do want to see this low be taken out at 148.602. Once that is taken out, then that gives me the green light to really sell dollar yen and hold, if the opportunity lets me, for a bigger move, because it makes sense to. So dollar yen I'm very bearish on. The opportunity I'm looking at this week is very much kind of another pullback, something like this, retest that trend line area. I like the support level here as well. Really nice support, which will be turn resistance. That's really the setup I'm looking at. Again, a lot has to happen for this to form. Firstly, we have to break structure first, then we have to get the pullback, come back and retest confluence. So a lot needs to happen for me to get the trade, but it's a good setup if it does form. And again, that's all I'm here for, trying to take the best setups I can find. If they do present themselves, I want to make sure I'm there to take them. Other scrappy trades, I want to make sure I'm not taking them. And dollar yen is a nice opportunity should something like this map up in the next coming days. But yeah, very bearish for dollar yen. Afonso, you said you're looking to buy dollar yen. I'm not very bullish on dollar yen. I understand that we're coming back into support, so it makes sense for the buy. So I can see why you're looking to buy. You said you got buyed at 149.5, which is pretty okay. So pretty much at current price, so just below current price. So yeah, it's a nice level to buy from. I can definitely understand that 100%. Really strong level of support here. And if again price wants to respect it, we could see a big continuation. It's just that I'm very bearish on the yen pairs, very bullish on the yen currency. So I do think there's a lot more downside to be had. So I'm kind of waiting for the break of structure. Now give me the green flag to sell. Of course, we haven't got that yet, so I can see the logic in the buys. But yeah, I'm more fixated in the sells, especially because if we were going to continue this move here, I would have expected a higher low to form by now and shown more aggression to the upside. We had a very aggressive move not long ago, but didn't really amount to much. Price just came back to respect the trend line, and we fell over, and we had another really aggressive move to the downside. So the lack of conviction to the upside does kind of tell me that, okay, most likely we're going to continue to the downside in the longer run. Sure, there might be some upside in the meantime, but the bigger move, likely based on how we're moving, is probably to the downside. So that's why I'm focused on the shorts as well. But yeah, I want to see a break of that low first. Shimdi, why are you bearish on Aussie? I'm not necessarily bearish on Aussie. I'm more bullish on CHF because the overall trend of the CHF pairs for the past however many years, past few months as well, has been firmly to the downside. So my main goal with Aussie CHF is not necessarily short Aussie, it's buy CHF. It's just that Aussie CHF at the moment in time set up a lot better than the other CHF pairs. So that's why I'm trading Aussie CHF. So I'm not necessarily bearish on Aussie. It's just that was the best currency to short it against at the time. I'm also trying to take advantage of buys on CHF really. And I'm selling Euro Aussie as well, which will need some Aussie strength to play out. Jeff, gold. Okay, we'll take a look at that quickly. Then I'll go through the rest of the yen pairs before I forget to do that as well. So yeah, as I mentioned with gold, it is stuck between a rock and a hard place a little bit here. We've got some major resistance, which price is holding on to, and we've got some major support, which price is holding on to as well. Really strong support over the past couple of weeks. Nice reaction once, twice, resistance once, twice, and really big third time there as well. So with gold, the trend is still very much up. You know, we can all identify that really. If I go to the daily chart, what's the price doing? It's creating high after high after high. Still a lot of momentum in the market. However, we are failing to break resistance. So is this potentially the top for gold? Is price going to retrace now? It's definitely due one. It could be. In terms of trading that, I would want to see price break support first. So us reacting to this high doesn't really do too much for me. It's very, very aggressive to take some shorts here. Not that it won't play out, but you're still trying to call the top of the market, which is always an aggressive play. If we can show signs of support breaking, now that is a sign that says, okay, support's no longer holding, resistance held, and that probably means that we're at least going to get a bit of retracement. The bigger move is probably still going to be to the upside for gold, but at least we can probably look at some counter trend opportunities in the meantime. If we break to the upside and we clear this level here at 29.39, then that's a very bullish signal for gold. And then I'll be looking for pullbacks and buy opportunities for a retest of that level to trade it back to the upside. I've marked here 3K, really big psychological level. I suppose that's the next big target for gold there. We've shattered pretty much every other level. We broke through 2K. That was the massive breakout we had over here at the start of the year, pretty much. And now 3K is the next big level. We're in touching distance of that. So if you do break to the upside, retests of this zone here will look good. Well, we'll see if they look good. And then, yeah, expecting a push into 3K. So if you're bullish in golds, I'll wait for the high to break. If you're bearish in gold, looking for sells, yes, you could try and have a go at the level here. I think it's a little bit aggressive, but just because it's the aggressive trade doesn't mean it's a bad trade. It just means aggressive, so risk of failure is a lot higher. If you can stomach that, and of course, do your thing. If you're looking for shorts, I would very much wait for that level to break, and then at least we've got an indication that, okay, support's not holding. Doesn't guarantee us a win, but it does put a probability a bit more in our favor. And perhaps we get a pullback to retest this high maybe, and then we continue. But of course, we'll wait and see. But for now, just waiting for price to break the resistance or support, and then I can probably have a bit more of an opportunity there on gold. Fonzo, you and bearish too, but just doing a quick intraday phase two. Okay, where's your targets for the trade? 100 plus pips. Let me have a look at that. 100 pips from 149.5. Okay, so not looking for anything crazy. Just looking for a push. I mean, that's even 130 pips. So 100 pips would roughly be a push into the high there. Okay, so you're looking for a smaller short-term trade. Makes sense. Well, very strong support. There's a good chance of us seeing a reaction at that level. So yeah, I thought you were looking at a bigger swing for whatever reason. Yeah, short-term trade, very powerful level of support. Not looking at anything too crazy. We could very much see a move like that happen. I'm focused on the sell, so that's kind of what I'm looking for. But yeah, we could definitely see a reaction at that level. So very strong support. I expect it to break, but we could have a big reaction before that does happen. Good morning, Alex. Hope you are well. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Okay, so let me go through the rest of the yen pairs. So we did euro yen, pound yen, euro yen, pound yen, dollar yen. Let's take a look at Swiss yen. We'll go through CAD yen and Aussie and New Zealand yen. And also, say, look at the yen basket, which is at a very interesting level. If that breaks, it might be the catalyst for some big moves on the yen pair. So we'll definitely take a look at that. But for Swiss yen, I really like this one. It looks, it's a similar situation to euro yen in terms of we've got a lovely head and shoulder pattern on our hands right now. Left, head, right shoulder, and there's our neckline. Our price is literally just testing the neckline right now. If I go quickly and have a quick look at euro yen, you can see similar situation. We got the left shoulder over here, you got your right shoulder over there, you got your head of the pattern, and of course that's the neckline, and price is kind of dancing and testing the level. So I'm expecting them both to break through these levels and have really big moves. So again, very bearish bias for Swiss yen. But what it does mean is that there's no real trade for me for CHFJY just yet, because I'll be shorting directly into support, and that's not something that's at the top of my to-do list right now. So I'm waiting for price to break that level, and then we can speak about some shorts afterwards. Or should we have another bounce from this area and push back up again? Fantastic. I'll look for another lower high, try and catch that one this time, and then short it back to where we came from. And maybe if I'm lucky, catch the breakout as well. So yeah, euro yen, same as Swiss yen. See if a price has a bounce from support and we pull away, then I've had another low high to short into, or we break through and I look for pullbacks afterwards. At the moment, there's nothing to do. I mean, there's nothing to do. There's always something to do in the market. But in terms of a bearish bias, there would be nothing to do. If you're looking to buy, it's actually in a nice place for it. Could catch a nice reaction from here and a temporary push to the upside. So it's actually not a bad place for a buy. It's just that I have a seller's bias. So I'm only looking for opportunities that favor that at the moment, which is not really there for me just yet. So yeah, really nice place for a buy, but I'm more fixated on the break of this support. Whether we have that greater pullback, which happens, and then we get the sell later on, or we break through. I'm not too sure what price is going to do. I'm just going to wait and see, but that is what I'm looking for. CAD yen, similar opportunity as well. Go to the 1 day chart, not 2 day chart. So again, another one which is more or less coming into the neckline of this head and shoulder pattern as well. Quite a few head and shoulder patterns on the higher time frames for the yen pairs. Interesting to note. That might mean we're going to have a really big sell, which is what we're expecting, or at least I am anyway. So yeah, with CAD yen as well, lovely head and shoulder pattern, as we can see approaching support here as well. So again, not the best time to be looking to short CAD yen, especially if there's swing bias. Short term, I understand you can get away with some entries there, but if you're going to be looking to hold trades overnight for a few days over the weekend, it's just not a prime place to be doing that. So again, with CAD yen, see if we get another bigger pullback into the lower high forms, and we get the continuation, or price breaks support, and I look for some entries below. Again, expecting that wick to be taken out, similar to pound yen as well. But something like this would definitely interest me for CAD yen. Again, it's not set up yet. Still a lot needs to happen, but that's really what I'll be looking for. Actually, not too sure why I deleted that. There we go. So something like that needs to happen for CAD yen if I'm going to get to trade. Otherwise, I'm going to have to sit tight. Alex, US 30, Naz, we'll take a look for you, no problem. I'll just get through a couple more of the yen pairs, take a look at the yen basket, because I've been saying I'll do that for a while. So I'm going to get that out of the way, then I'll take a look at some indices for you. Lord of me wearing a sweater would mean it's a bit breezy in the UK. It's always a bit breezy, Lorda. It's always a bit breezy. To be honest, I'm actually sweating a little underneath. It's a bit warm in here. But yeah, it's always breezy. It's always breezy. If I was streaming outside, I'll be in gloves, hats, thick jacket, scarf, you name it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with CAD yen. In terms of Aussie yen, so this one, again, bearish bias, looking for a price to go and take out the wick low. In terms of opportunities, that's where we're a little bit starved off right now, because we're approaching support. So this is a big no-no. Don't want to be looking to short right now. If we can break through, fantastic. That'll show me that, okay, this bearish structure's still got fuel in the tank. We're still pretty consistent with these lower highs, lower lows, and lower highs. So as long as we can keep that going, that's all that I'm looking for. And perhaps we can look for a retest of some structure, trade that back into some lows, Something like this could set up really well. So there is opportunities here for the yen pairs. Really nice pullbacks, retested some healthy structure. Again, it's going to take its time to develop. None of them actually giving me setups right now. It might take a few days because most of them are trading at support right now, to be honest. So if you're looking for some buys, I can see some setups, but in terms of the sells, especially if you're looking for a swing trade, it might take a few days there for them to develop. New Zealand yen as well, similar situation. In fact, I would like a move to the upside here for New Zealand yen. The push to the upside, perhaps coming to test that trend line, and then we get the continuation. We've got one high here, second one there, perhaps a third one before we get the drop. Again, if I go to the daily chart, I'm looking for us to go take out the wick low here. So I'm very bearish here for New Zealand yen as well, and a bigger pullback would be nice. In a weird way, it's kind of like a big head and shoulder pattern as well. That's like a neckline there. Maybe not the cleanest one, but you guys catch my drift. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at for New Zealand yen and get the short from there as well. So bearish on these yen pairs. And quickly, if I go for the yen basket, so yen basket, oh, okay. So this is the resistance level I said if price breaks, we could be meaning business in terms of a really big move. It looks like price has technically broken through and is coming back onto the level now. But again, it's not a clear-cut breakout. I say that because if you look at the wicks of the previous breakout attempt and I drag that across, price is still respecting that area quite well. So right now, more than anything, we've got kind of a bit of a double top on our hands here rather than a breakout. If price gave us a big candle closure above or 2-3 candle closures above this level, then that would give me a lot more confidence in terms of, okay, we've got a breakout now. I wouldn't be too surprised to see price come back underneath this level, to be honest. So again, that might mean a bit more retracement for the yen pair, so watch out for that. But in terms of the bigger move, I do expect us to eventually break out from this level and come back into this zone here at 7,200. Expecting longer term this wick high to be taken out as well. So I expect a lot more upside for the yen basket. I'm still looking at this as a nice kind of rounded bottom here. And eventually I was picking up the pace to the upside. But yeah, it looks like we might be having a bit of a failed attempt to break the highs, which is not the worst thing in the world because it might give us in the pullback here on the yen pairs to look to possibly trade. If not, then I'll wait for the break of the level and then hopefully we can catch some retest there. And again, that should give us nice opportunities on maybe pound yen, euro yen, and some breaking retest to ride it into 7,200. But yeah, yen basket right now, it looks like we tried to break through. Maybe we did, and maybe we're just going to have a quick retest and continue, but I'm not quite convinced just yet. So it's either we break back inside, have a bigger pullback, try and take the advantage of that, or we see a bigger breakout and look for some retest of that. But either way, expecting upside for the yen basket. And of course, if the yen basket is going to push to the upside, that means that the yen pairs are going to push down because that means yen is going to be strong. So it does add up right now. Okay, so I'll go through the indices for Alex. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please drop a like. It does really help out. Subscribe to the channel as well. That helps out too. And of course, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. I do really appreciate everyone who has liked, subscribed to the channel, like the stream so far. It does really help out. So I do really appreciate that, boys and girls. But yes, we'll go through some indices. Alfonso, the pending trade, USD 1.83 buy. Okay, we'll have a look at that one as well. No problem, Alex. I'll get to the indices now. So yeah, we had a massive drop. Last week for US 30. I was looking for a bounce at this support level. We had kind of no indication of price respecting this level. Price just completely melted. So now that we've got the breakout, things are a bit interesting here for US 30. I say that because we've essentially got the beginnings of a double top. Price came back to the high, didn't break through. So that's not a good sign for the buyers. If you create a new high, then I would be a lot more optimistic about this pullback. A lot more optimistic, because I'll just be looking at it as a pullback, perhaps maybe a bit of a exaggerated sell there to startle some buyers before we continue. But because we're coming from an equal high, it makes things very awkward here for US 30. So looking at this one, I mean, I still would be overall bullish for US 30 and overall bullish for US 30, but it has made things pretty awkward. I do think there can be short-term sells to look at. I wouldn't get too excited about the shorts, but I do like the opportunity for price to come back and retest some structure here. Should we come back, revisit, I do think that would be a nice area. Even the breaking retest of this low here looks good as well. That could be a nice trade just for a push back into the prior low. I wouldn't try and take the trade further than that, just because I know that, okay, the bigger move is even though we've double topped it and we've seen some bearish momentum, the bigger move is still likely to be to the upside here for US 30. So let's not get that misconstrued, because the trend is still very much up. Until we start to break through lows, I'm never really going to be truly bearish on an index, especially like US 30 as well. But short-term perspective, market's been forming some lower lows and lower highs now. And now that we've got the break of the structure on the left and a very impulsive break as well, that's a key thing to note, that we didn't kind of just slowly push the downside. I do like the opportunity for a sell back into where we came from, and then we see what price does from there. Maybe we continue to break to the downside, maybe we double bottom and turn around. Maybe we don't even get a reaction. Maybe price impulsively breaks back to the upside. If that's the case, then we'll be looking at something like this to happen. But if you can get a slow corrective movement, which so far we're kind of getting that vibe, as long as we can keep up that momentum, I think around 44,100 looks like a nice place to short, and a push back into the low is a nice idea on perhaps maybe the hourly chart, something like that for US 30. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for US 30. US 100, still bullish long term, but I'm looking at a temporary short there. US 100, again, a big sell as well. Very awkward. We took up the high in price, comes back down. I said I was looking for a bounce at this level. Again, no indication of a bounce. We had that very aggressive sell-off on Friday, and price just completely dumped with this candle here, as we can all see. So I would still be bullish again for NAS. This does not make me bearish. Again, if I look to the higher time frames, what's the trend at play? 100% still bullish. Yes, it's a market which is tiring. Perhaps we could be getting ready for retracement, but my mentality is always, I'm expecting this to continue up until it doesn't. And that would indicate breaking of structure, which we haven't done. Sure, you could say we've broken maybe some lower time frame structure, but the lower time frames don't really dictate the overall trend. You know, the daily, weekly chart does, which is still comfortably to the upside. So again, with NAS, I like the short-term sells with this one, meaning we put some nice low highs in with some momentum as well. So I would expect the continuation of that. But similar to US 30, I wouldn't try and take that past the low. If we can get a short back into the low, call it a day. Let's see where we can go from there. Because at the moment, there's a lot of bearish momentum in the market. All we're looking to do is take advantage of that momentum and then call it a day, because it's a short-term opportunity. It's nothing that we're expecting price to continue. I know we fell at the highs, which may be a possibility that things could continue, but let's not try and find that out with a trade. We will be a spectator and see if that happens, because if price really does mean business to the downside, we'll get some heavy sells and price will break some real important structure, and that will indicate a lot more downside, but we're far away from that. At the moment, I'm still expecting something like this to happen and more upside, really. So short-term sells look good here for NAS. Same with US 30. And we'll see how far we can take it, but I would only be aiming for the low. Again, let's not forget we're shorting bullish markets here. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at for US 30 and NAS. Lauder, yes, we will take a look at Euro USD and pounds, still long bias, just waiting for a little push down, then start my buys. I like your thinking. I'm in a similar camp as you. I might be looking at some bigger retracements, but I think I normally am looking at bigger retracements compared to you, Lauder, because I'm entering on the 4-hour chart. But I do have a very bearish bias for the dollar this week. I'm looking for a slightly deeper pullback on the DXY before I do get that short bias. I'm looking at retests of this area before the continuation. I like the lower highs you printed up here. I'm kind of looking for another one. I don't expect to test that trend line, but I'm looking for another lower high before the follow through. So in terms of my dollar outlook, expecting some strength, but the main move I'm looking at is weakness. And that strength should translate most likely into retracements for euro, retracements for pound, which I'm pretty bullish on both of them as well. However, this is the setup I'm looking at for euro. So that's why I mentioned I might be looking at a much deeper pullback than you. And but again, it's the same idea. I'm looking for price to push down so I can buy it back up again. But yeah, I do have a bullish bias for Euro USD. Again, the thing about Euro, which is playing into the reason why I'm looking for a much deeper pullback, is because the market's been extremely flat for a while now. We've had a very comfortable bearish trend. There was a lot of momentum to the downside, but all that momentum has vanished, and now we're kind of just floating a little bit. So because we are so stale and so slow, it does look like price is slowly gaining steam to the upside. We've gone from a bearish trend to slowly losing that momentum to now forming some equal lows, now some higher lows. So kind of giving us this kind of bowl shape pattern, which does tend to give us a pretty high success rate of playing out. But we do tend to see steeper corrections as well. So I'm looking for price to come right back into support where I can get a nice stop loss, relatively safe stop loss, try and catch the next higher low, retest some nice areas, and then hopefully maximize my risk to reward. Of course, we may not do that. We may just see price have a smaller correction and continue. But because we're so stale, not really seeing much momentum. Because we're still respecting resistance as well, I don't really want to be entering close to that area because the chance of a bearish reaction is just a lot higher versus down here, of course. So yeah, very bullish on euro. Just want to see a bigger pullback before I do get into a trade. This is more so my area of interest around 1.302, 1.032, sorry. And yeah, targets are back to where we came from, which would be the resistance here. But I do think we can push a little bit harder back into 1.06 as well. So that's kind of where I'm at with Euro USD. In terms of pound USD is a bit cleaner setup in terms of we've just got nice higher highs and higher lows. The market's been printing, and all I'm looking to do is try and catch another pullback of that. I've got a nice area of confluence here. We've got prior support here on the left. As we can see, really nice support here, and was resistance as well not long ago. So it looks like price has paid a lot of respect to this level at 1.25. Should we get there again, there's a good chance we use a react. We use it as support, and we get a reaction. And we've got some nice trendline confluence there too. I'm looking personally for a push back into this area for pound, but I'd at least look to see if I can take it back into the high here, which is of course to retest that prior high. But overall, Euro USD and pounds, yeah, pretty much the same thought process. And yeah, I'm pretty bearish in USD. So it's not just euro and pound I'm looking at. I'm looking at dollar CAD shorts. I'm looking at Aussie dollar longs. New Zealand dollar longs I like as well, but I think they're a bit more intraday. Dollar CHF shorts I'm looking for, although kind of still waiting for that to break support. But once it does, that one look good. I'll go over that in a second because that was the bonus pair this week on my week's analysis. But yeah, I'm pretty bearish on these USD pairs. Anthony, yes, we'll take a look at S&P. No problem. But yeah, pretty bearish on the USD. But again, we still could see some upside for a few days. But I'm more focused on the sells. In terms of the S&P, so we looked at the NAS, which looked pretty bearish. Looked at US 30, which looked pretty bearish, of course, after the big moves on Friday. And I'm very much looking for the continuation of those moves. S&P, however, I'm not too sure about this one. Because yes, we've had a big drop, but we've pulled back into some support, which is actually not a bad place for a buy. I did say US 500 looks a bit dodgy because every time you do take out the highs, you do see really aggressive sells. As you can see, we formed a high there, pushed up, aggressive sell, pushed up here as well. What happened? Aggressive sell. So as I did say, be careful because we might do another aggressive sell, which is kind of what we did. So the fact that we are taking up the highs and having aggressive sells shortly after is again a sign of the market tiring, a sign the market could be looking to have a deeper retracement at some point. Still very much a bullish market, 100%, especially when it's an index. If this was an FX pair, I'll be expecting a big drop pretty soon. But because it's S&P, it can still grind higher for a few days, few weeks, few months potentially before we do even see a remote retracement, which probably only lasts for a couple of days before we do push down. Maybe not a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, something like this, before we do continue up as well. So being very, very careful because it's a very bullish market overall. I still do like the sells here, but again, I'll keep it short and sweet. If you can get a retest of that area back into support, call it a day. We very much could double bottom here and continue that trend like it's nothing. So the S&P is still giving us these high lows. You can look at the low there, another higher low there, another higher low there. I wonder if that is, again, another higher low for us to push up. We're forming these kind of steps as we keep pushing. So overall, to me, S&P is still very bullish. And where we're trading right now is actually a nice place for a buy. If you're looking for a sell, I'll wait for price to get back to this level here, which is at 6089. So I'll still wait for that to happen. If you're looking to long, this is a nice place for a buy as well. I'll probably look for a bit of a double bottom there for some entries to take it back, at least back to the high there, which is at 6133. So yeah, I think generally speaking, nothing's really changed in terms of the overall bias for the US indices. No problem, Lord. Happy to help. The overall bias has not changed one bit here for the indices, despite the big aggressive sells we had at the end of last week. But they do look good in terms of some shorter term sells. Really aggressive momentum, left behind some levels which haven't been retested yet. So if we can get there, retest those areas, I do expect to see continuation, but I'll keep it, like I said, short and sweet, back to the low and call it a day there because we very much could turn around. Same thing with US 30. Same thing with the NAS. How is UK 100 doing? Okay, that one hasn't actually done anything really. Since we last spoke, I believe we're trading somewhere around here. I still like the shorts though, but looks like we're taking our sweet time to make that happen. But yeah, in general, the indices for me are still very bullish overall. So I would only be looking to mainly take buys. But again, the shorts do look good. I'll just keep it short and simple. Anyway, let's go through some of the crosses. Afonso, you mentioned the Euro NZD trade, which I'll have a look at. So you've got a pending order for Euro NZD. So we'll start with Euro NZD and work our way through that. We'll have a look at the CAD pairs as well. Have a look at the crosses. Go through some CHF pairs as well. If there's any other particular pairs you do want to see and get my thoughts and opinions on, let me know. Of course, if there's a specific time frame as well you're looking at, feel free to mention that as well. And I'll take a look at that time frame. But for your NZD, you said you got to buy pending order. Let's have a look. See 1. Where's the message? 1.83, which is just above us. Stop loss 1.817. Okay, so okay, yeah, I misread that. And take profit 1.844. So that's about here-ish. Okay, so you're looking to, okay, I like the idea, to be honest. I like the idea. Essentially what you're saying is, okay, if the market is manipulating this level of support to the downside and not actually seeing a breakout, then I'm expecting momentum to shift and us to become very bullish. And if we do take up the highs there, most likely we'll keep pushing to the upside back to the high end of resistance, which is this area here. and your stop loss is below the prior low, which give you some wiggle room to play out just in case you have some deeper pullbacks or maybe some wicks. So I like the trade actually. I like the trade a lot. It makes sense based on what the market is doing. It makes sense based on the context of the market as well. And if the market is faking to the downside, you're there ready to take advantage of momentum back up again. Targets in a reasonable place, stop loss in a reasonable place, and entry makes sense as well. So yeah, I like the opportunity here. You take advantage of what the market is doing, which is ranging. If it is going to fake to the downside, then it most likely is going to push to the upside. If it is making move to the downside in terms of it's legit and the market actually is getting ready to break to the downside, then of course you most likely won't be trading into the position because the market will just keep bleeding and you go find another trade elsewhere. So I like the trade. It makes a lot of sense. Setup's decent. Risk reward looks like a maybe 1 to 0.5 or 1 to 0.2 or something like that. Yeah, the entries, targets, stop loss make sense. So I like the trade idea. I like the trade idea. Not really something I'm looking at in terms of ranges, but I like the fact that you've got the manipulation to the downside. So if that is the case, we can push to the upside. So yeah, I like the idea. No problem, Anthony. Being cautious this week. How come you're being cautious? Do we have big news? I haven't actually looked at the news for the week yet. Let's have a look. See, what do we have in store for us this week? Okay, so already had CPI for Euro. That was this morning. Didn't cause too much movement. I suppose we were a little bit bearish, but USD's been pretty bullish anyway. Tomorrow, nothing much yet. No, nothing. Wednesday, excuse me. Home sales, USD 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Might cause a bit of movement there. I would watch out for that if you're looking to trade USD, especially intraday. Thursday, jobless claims, USD, GDP as well. Okay, that's something to keep an eye out of. Looks like the GDP is going to get expected to drop pretty heavily actually for USD on Thursday. That might be interesting. And Friday, a lot of Euro news. GDP again for CAD, PCE for dollar. So I wouldn't say big hitters in terms of the news, but there is some potential movers. GDP for USD, PMI for USD as well. But yeah, nothing that will get me too worried based on the timeframes I'm trading and what I'm looking at. I think next week we'll have some big hitters. I think next week should be NFP because I think we start March this weekend, isn't it? The first is on the Saturday, I think. So NFP should be next Friday. I think we have some other big news as well. Lighton, is it easy to transition from currencies to indices, though? Not so keen on taking shots on them yet. Yeah, I mean, again, a market is a market. I wouldn't say it's particularly easy or hard. It's a different market, the indices, because they have an overall direction to them, unlike the FX. So if you've been trading FX for a while, you're probably used to the flexibility of the FX currencies that they trend for up. They trend to the upside for a bit, trend to the downside for a bit. So you're used to that kind of changing. With the indices just up in general. Of course, they do have some downtimes as well. In terms of the move, they're a little bit more aggressive from my testing. FX, you get the frequent pullbacks, you get the break and retest quite a lot. You do get that with the indices as well, but less frequently. And they're very aggressive in their pullbacks. They can very much just kind of push to the upside, have an aggressive dip, and then they're just gone. They're gone like it's the wind. Whereas FX, you do have some occasional dips like that, of course, but you get your frequent kind of break and retest. Everything's a bit more slower. So you would probably develop a strategy that fits more to FX. And then when you get to the indices, you work out that you probably won't get as many setups as you would expect to. And you might have to tweak a little bit or or come up with something else to try and trade them, which is kind of what I'm looking to do. So in terms of the tools, the techniques you're using, it's still the same thing. It's just that you might have to adapt a little bit because they're a bit more aggressive with their moves. So you have to be aware of that. But the best way to understand if it's something you want to trade or not, go and back test an indice, see how that goes, and use that as a starting point. If you've seen some good results, you've got a decent sample size, go and test the open and demo account, start trading them, start to get a bit of a rhythm with them. If you see the results are nothing like you expected, then you can work with that, tweak. Or if you're comfortable with FX and you don't really see a need to jump over, then stick with FX. Again, with trading, there's necessarily no right or wrong thing. I think the biggest lesson to learn in trading is if something's working, your job is to maximize that the most, not necessarily to go and make sure everything works in every single pair, because that's how you're going to lose money, really. If you're trying to be everywhere at once, the goal is to find something that works and make the most of that. And if you can find something else that works, great, make the most of that too. But if you branch over to something that's not quite working, yes, try and tweak and refine and improve it, and it will take some time to do that. But you should be also focusing on the things that work as well, because that's where your profit is. But yeah, I don't see why you shouldn't experiment with the indices. Go check them out. Go back test them. See what they're saying. If you're liking the feel of them, seeing some good results in back testing, like I said, open a demo account and start trading it real time. What's up, Cease Integrated? Hope you're well. Welcome to the stream. Hope you are doing good. Queen, what's up? Gold, good for a sell. Again, it's at a nice level, but I think it's just a bit aggressive given the context of the market is overall still very, very bullish. If I jump over to gold, what are we doing overall? It's just aggressive uptrend. Yes, I do think we're due a retracement and eventually we're going to see the market sell 100%, but we don't know when that's going to happen. It could be now, it could be this time next week, it could be this time next month before price does retrace and see a meaningful move to the downside. Of course, it will have its retracements intraday, intra-week. In terms of a meaningful move, it might be a while. So if you do short gold, be prepared to exit that trade fairly quickly if things start to go against you, because the trend's up. I know we're struggling at the high right now, but all it takes is just one candle and suddenly we're bullish again. So yes, it's at a respectable level to short, but I think it's still a very aggressive trade. As I mentioned earlier, if I'm going to get short on golds, because support's breaking rather than resistance is holding, because I know the trend's up, but if support breaks, it means, okay, buyers are failing to hold support. And it means that, okay, we might see more follow through to the downside. Nothing's guaranteed, but at least I know probability is a bit more my favor at that point. So something like this would interest me. Again, still being relatively careful because I would still expect the bigger move to be to the upside, but there might be some short-term sells I can take advantage of. If you're looking to buy, then again, I would wait for this to break out and look for some retest in that direction. And I've marked 3K. There's a nice target for us. So yes, we're at a nice level, but I wouldn't sell it. I think it's still really, I think it's still an aggressive position to look to sell right now, given how bullish everything is. Alfonso, problem shares in this. True. Yeah, that is true. It can be volatile. And again, that's kind of what I was hinting at as well with the price action. They're a bit more volatile, a bit more aggressive. Again, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because if you've got experience, you have to trade it well, you've got an edge with it, you can still make very healthy profit. The way I see it, it's just another market to trade. Like crypto, for example, they can be very volatile as well, for similar reasons, and they can be, people can close a massive position, suddenly Bitcoin tanks 10%, so that can happen as well. That happening on Euro USD is just it's not impossible, but it's going to take a load of capital for that to happen. And even if it does happen, you probably only see a slight dip in price, nothing like 10%. So it's just relatively safer. in the currency world, but there's still profit to be made in multiple markets. So like I said, experiment. I wouldn't say go in with a live account and just start trading. I wouldn't suggest that, but open a demo account, go back test, gather information, gather data as well, and you can see for yourself if there's something you should look at. The way I see it is, it's another market. You can take advantage of that, but gain experience first, because that's a big thing in trading. In theory, you might know a nice system to trade, but in application, it could be something else. So always look to gain experience in the market first before you try any sort of live trading. Dark shot going to sell 5 minutes ago, fingers crossed. Okay, so you got into a GJ sell. We'll have a look, see. Yeah, yeah. They can be a bit frightening, Lighton. I can definitely understand that. And again, you've got a wide range of FX pairs. So um, especially if you're a beginner as well, I would suggest just learn your trade with FX. You can always branch out to indices and crypto and other markets if you want later on. Because the goal as a beginner is to find consistency. It's not to be the expert yet. Just like in any field, your goal when you start out is not to be the expert. Eventually, yes, but in the beginning, you need to earn your stripes a little bit. And I think FX is a great place to do that. You can always add to your arsenal as you go along. What was I going to look at? Completely forgot. Mine's gone blank. GJ, that was it. GJ 5 minute. You got an entry. I suppose it's just as a short. Yeah, got on a sell 5 minutes ago. So you are selling over here. So yeah, that's the area which it's in a interesting place, because I was mentioning that this could be a bull flag at the start of the stream. It could be, or it could be an area which price is looking to form another low high to push back down. That could be the situation as well. I assume your stop loss is probably just above the high here, more or less. So if you do get stopped out, I would suggest keep an eye on this area. That could be something we look at maybe the New York session, because it will take a while for us to get there in the first place, but I'll keep an eye on that. If this isn't a bull flag and price is just looking to put a third lower high in, then of course you're in a really nice place for it. Price is still a little bit corrective on the way up too, and we are still putting these lower highs. So if price is going to respect that structure, this would be the place I would expect us to sell off from. So in terms of where you're shorting from, I think it's a nice location based on the 5 minute, of course. There is room to the upside should we see that bigger move, but if we are going to respect that third lower high, then this is the place I expect us to do it. So yeah, I do like the trades. As I said, I like this area more, so I would wait for that personally. But again, it could be a situation where I miss the move, and we see that happen. But again, even if it is a loss, I'm pretty sure you will still catch the bigger move. Maybe New York session today or London tomorrow, or some other time in the week. Because in terms of the probability of us continuing to the downside, I think it's very high. If you look at the structure here on the 5 minute chart, what are we doing? Just forming low and lower high after lower high after lower highs. My expectation is for that to continue. So if we sell off now, or maybe push up a little bit higher, I'm expecting more of the same. But yeah, best of luck for the position, Dark Sean. No problem. Happy to help. Okay, I didn't know that, Alfonso. Below 10%, but USA projected from 50% to possibly 80% by 2030. Okay, that is interesting. I did not know that for Europe as well. Okay, so I said I was going to go through the crosses, didn't I? Only to the trade based on the trend line and switch of volume from positive to negative. Okay. But yeah, if we can hold the trend line, then it makes sense. It does make sense for some downside. No problem, Queen. Happy to help. So in terms of the crosses, so as I said, I'm currently short Euro Aussie. I do have a bearish bias for this one. I'm going to see if you can respect that level for continuation back into the low. 1.63580 is kind of my target for the trade, really, which is a fairly small target for myself. It's just above a 1-to-1, but I'm looking to try and hold the trades a little bit further. I'll take most of my profit there, but I'll hold probably about 20% of my size back into the low here, because that is where my longer term goal, that is my expectation for Euro Aussie. But based on where I'm trading, it doesn't make sense for me to try and push the trade that far. I leave myself a little bit exposed, especially given the fact how choppy it is. If I go to the daily chart, see how choppy this market is. If you're going to look for a big move in a market which is moving like this, you want to make sure you're positioned up high. That will give you the best chance of catching the move and lowers the probability of pricing just a random move to take out your stop loss. Of course, you're not completely safe. You never will be, but at least you're safer than the entry here, which is still testing a nice level. Like I said, in terms of probability, I've got probably a good chance to get it back here. But anything further, I'm at risk. So I'll take most of my profit at the low. But we'll see what happens. Still fairly early days. We'll see what we can do. But in terms of the crosses, I'm pretty bearish, or at least I'm gaining that bias. Euro Aussie, I'm very bearish since I'm actually shorting the pair. But yeah, expecting a lot more downside for this one. We've got kind of that weird head and shoulder pattern here, left, head, right. We had a lot of momentum here in July. Price looked like it was going to continue, but failed miserably. I'm looking for us to continue back in the opposite direction, back into these lows, since we have failed at resistance and broken through some key support. So in my book, Euro Aussie's got a lot of room to the downside, and now we're testing some key support, which over the past couple days, couple of weeks, I should say, we've kind of faked below it, faked above it. So the market was a bit confused, but now it looks like we've had a really clean test of the area. We've got this trendline confluence as well. So I'm looking to see if we can continue that to the downside. In terms of pound Aussie and pound NZD, these are a little bit more up in the air, at least in terms of my bias anyway. I'm looking for a move to the downside here because I've expected us to we've hit some heights, we've hit some levels where I do expect us to turn around. Might not be completely, but at least something like this I do expect is on the cards here. But in terms of trading it, I don't have a setup at all. The market's still kind of giving me higher highs and higher lows, higher lows, sorry, and lower highs. So the market's kind of squeezing like this, and it makes things very, very awkward for me to find a position. And at the moment, we are consolidating as well. So I don't really have a clear-cut setup here. So kind of waiting for us to commit in either direction, to be honest. I expect it to be to the downside, but even if we do break to the upside, there might be some nice longs there on the way back to highs. But I am looking for something more like this for pound Aussie and a continuation. Likewise for pound NZD as well, which is doing something similar in terms of, again, some lower highs there, some higher lows, and quite frankly, it looks like we're consolidating there as well. So looking for us to break to the downside here, get some pullbacks and some more follow through. But again, this might still be the move, so keep an eye on that too. But right now, we're kind of just squeezing this wedge pattern, so I wouldn't want to try and find anything in there. It's a little bit too tightly knit for me. I'm looking for a breakout. So yeah, in terms of the crosses, I do like Euro Aussie. I'm shorting that one. Other crosses, UNSD, pound NZD, pound Aussie. I do have a bearish bias for those, but they're not quite set up yet for trades. Dark Shrine is not what I usually look for, but I took a risk on this one. Okay. Well, again, as long as you're not betting the farm on a trade, I don't really see as a problem, especially with your equity curve as well. Knowing where you are in terms of your equity curve, in terms of your trading at the moment, is always a good indication whether you should take a slightly more riskier trade or not. Especially if your equity curve's at relatively new highs, or your equity curve is on the up, then you can take a slightly riskier trade. Not that you're going to be, instead of risking your normal amount of risk, you're doubling it. Not in that regard, but like you said, maybe taking a setup with a different type of confluence. Still, again, probabilities in your favor, but a different type of confluence. You have a stab at that. If you do take a loss when your equity curve's at highs, it's not such a bad situation. For example, let's say if this is your equity curve, starting here and you're seeing some new highs, that's a very, very steep equity curve, but you guys get my point. If you're going to take a riskier trade here, it's very minimal effect in your trading. If you're going through a bit of a bad time in your trading, or just some drawdown, which again everyone goes through, and you equity curves like this, now's not the best time to be taking something outside of your trading plan. Because number one, psychologically, you're a bit more emotional here anyway. And number two, your main thing should be looking to slow down the steepness of this equity curve and start to plateau a little bit, which means following your plan, reducing your risk if you want to, but at least keeping things straightforward and simple, taking the best trades you can find within your plan. If you're up here, sure, you can take the extra risk. Of course, generally speaking, you want to stay true to your plan because it's what got you there in the first place. So you don't want to disregard that. You want to stick to your plan overall, but you have a bit of wiggle room to try something if you want to. Here, you don't really have much room. You want to be slowing that down, finding your feet again. And then, if you want to take a little bit more of a risky trade, go ahead. Again, there's no right or wrong in trading, but there's risk. Manage the risk as best you can. If things are not going well for you, lower the risk, protect your capital. Things are going well, don't be insanely aggressive. Respect it, because the market will humble you. If you get too confident, it will bring you right back down to earth, guaranteed. But you've got a bit more room to wiggle riff, and if you want to take advantage of that, you can do that as well. It's just about being sensible managed. Alfonso, pound bullish on all time frames, the daily, and pulling back from the weekly. That's one way to look at it, but I'm pretty bearish on pound yen on the higher time frames. Again, with technical analysis, everything's subjective. Someone can have a bullish bias in the same market and the bearish bias in looking at the exact same market, the exact same price action. I'm very bearish on pound yen. I may be right, I may be wrong, but based on the boxes that have ticked for me, it's very much in bearish territory. Looking at the weekly chart, heading to the downside, knowing where we're trading, back at this high here. Last time we had a similar pattern over there. You can see what happened, the massive sell to the downside. We're back there again. Possibly we could see a big sell to the downside too. So for me, based on where we're situated, based on the overall trend in the market, I'll say we're in an area where we could very much turn around. Of course, if you're gauging that momentum there, yes, the market has been bullish, but in the context of the market, if you look over here, it's definitely been bullish over here too, but then we did hit the top. So that's why I'm bearish on the yen pairs, because we're situated in areas where it makes sense for us to turn around. Yes, the market has been bullish for the past 2 years, but we're at an area where things can turn around. So that's why I'm pretty bearish on the yen pairs, and especially because we had that big drop in July, and I'm looking for the continuation of that. Again, I could be wrong. We might still continue. Nothing's guaranteed, but for those reasons, I'm expecting a lot more downside. Follow the trend. What is up? I don't know if have said hello to you. Hope you're doing good. I'm well. Hope you're doing good as too. I will take a look at gold for you, no problem. Okay, take care, Lauder. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you have liked the stream, guys. If you have enjoyed it, found it useful, drop a like. Does really help out. Subscribe to the channel as well. Do really appreciate it. Gold. So yeah, gold's still very much bullish in general. Market's making higher highs and higher lows. However, we're stalling at this resistance. So if the trend is going to continue, I need the break of the high. Keep it plain and simple. If the trend's going to continue, break the high, because we've had multiple attempts trying to break the high and we failed pretty much all of them. So if price can now go and break the high, give me 2-3 candlesticks here on the 4-hour chart to the upside, great. Then I'll be looking at pullbacks, the retest of the high, and then the continuation. We've got 3K, a big psychological level for gold. I think there's a good chance we are going to be drawn to that area. So the break and retest could be a nice setup on the hourly chart, perhaps, or even the full hour, maybe. And that could be a nice pullback continuation trade. If gold is hitting potentially a top to reverse or at least see a bit of a bigger pullback, then I'm waiting for support to break, which is down here. Because quite frankly, gold's in a bit of a range. We've got equal lows, equal highs. Markets be dancing in between. So we are essentially ranging here for gold. So I need price to clear the highs or clear the lows before I do put forward a bit of a setup and a bias to trade. At the moment, we're kind of just testing resistance, really. So yeah, I need to see price clear that. Then great, we're bullish again, looking for 3K. If we come back down, then we're back in the range. Then I want to wait to see what we do when we break out. But overall, gold is still bullish. I look at this on the higher time frames. No real sign of slowing down, to be honest, on the daily chart. So if we do break the high, I just expect more of the same. And since we've got 3K, which is so close to us and just above our heads, I feel like if you do get the break of this level here at 29.40, I do think 3K will be hit pretty soon. I'm also keeping an eye on silver as well. But that was just a little bit awkward still. I mean, it's testing some resistance now, which I suppose if you do hold, I mean, the key thing for me is I want price to break the high here. If you can break the high, that tells me the bullish trend is still at play, because silver's at an awkward place right now. We've got resistance over here, which looks like price is breaking through. But we had a bit of a wick last week, which makes things a bit awkward. So if we can stay above for that for silver, I'll be very bullish, looking for a push to 34.8. If we break underneath, then yeah, I want to back away from silver. Still would be bullish overall, but that's a bearish signal. Break underneath structure, especially if we take out some lows here to the left too. That's a bearish signal, and we might see something like this set up and another sell, which is something I'm just not really interested in right now for silver. So yeah, from a bullish perspective, I'll have to back away, but we'll see if we can hold. At the moment, I'm just spectating, waiting to see. It's just so hard to buy. Also, it just doesn't seem to stop too much FOMO. Yeah, I see what you mean, and again, a lot of people feel that way as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you look at the market sentiment for most brokers, most major brokers, you'll probably see that majority of retail traders will be shorting gold right now because they will have the exact same view. Price is seeing a lot of upside. It's way too high. It most likely is going to come down pretty soon, and they are correct. The retail traders are correct. Gold will eventually retrace. Every market does, even Bitcoin. Every market does. And as you can see, if you look past, what does gold do after a really big move? It retraces. So you're guaranteed to see that pullback pretty much. However, in terms of pinpointing where it's going to pull back from, that's where the magic lies, and that's where the uncertainty lies as well. It might be from this level. It might be 200 pips higher. It might be 500 pips higher. We don't know where that's going to happen, and that's why I'm not looking to try and short gold, because I do agree it's very overextended, it's very high. I do expect to see a bigger pullback, but where will that pullback happen? I don't know. And until I can start to see a bit of a counter trend form, so lower lows and lower highs, that's when I'll be interested in shorting gold, because at least I've got some structure now. But trying to short the top here is just very aggressive. Those same people who would be shorting right now for gold probably had the same idea back over, if I get the replay tool out, they probably had the same expectation back over here. They're like, okay, gold's broken through the highs. It's gone too far. It's probably going to pull back soon. Keeps going up. Okay, now it's gone too far. It should pull back now. Okay, it did have a bit of a pullback there, but it still went up. Okay, gold's gone too far. It's going to have to pull back. It did pull back, but what did it do? It still went up eventually. So they would still have that bias down there. And there might be in some really, really unfortunate trades if they've held onto sells here and they're still going up against them. That is the worst place to be. So yeah, my expectation is that gold is due a pullback, but I don't have a crystal ball that tells me where from. So I'm just going to let gold do its thing until I see some clear signs. No problem. Follow the trend. Hope you get some nice trades in gold. What's up, Olu? Hope you're doing good. My weekend was fine. Oh, not fine. It was a good weekend. Thank you for asking. Hope your weekend was good too. Anthony, have a profitable day, everyone. Thanks, Mika. No problem, my man. Take care. I will be live again all weekday this week. So if you guys are free, make sure you pop in, say hi, come chat with us, see what's popping off in the markets. But I do appreciate it, Anthony. Have a good one, man. But yeah, in terms of myself, my watch list going forward for the week, it hasn't really changed too much, to be honest. It's very much still dollar and yen focus. In terms of dollar, very much just looking for pullbacks and shorts. The pullback I'm looking for might take a few days to play out, so it might be an opportunity for next week, to be honest. But it's still a good opportunity, so my focus is still definitely on the DXY, looking for a pullback and a continuation to the downside. Euro USD looking at the same move in the opposite direction, so pullback again. I want to see a big pullback for Euro, just so I'm closer to the buys, and then I can take it to the upside. Pound USD, likewise as well. Looking at pullback here to retest 1.25. This is another pair on my watch list. Take some buys there to the upside. Aussie dollar looking fresh. I like this one too. Nice range just below us. Looking for the retest of that for more upside. Again, the idea is that we formed potentially a bit of a bottom here for Aussie dollar and for most of the USD pairs, and now we're getting ready to turn. So my plan is just pullbacks and more upside. New Zealand dollar as well, except this one's probably a bit more of an intraday trade, but I like it as well. Retest, seeing another higher low and expecting more upside. There's a nice trend line here as well, which looks good for a retest and more upside. Dollar CHF, looking for more downside too for this one. I kind of want it to break through support first before I do start selling. If we could do that this week, that'd be great. And yeah, more downside there too. And in terms of the yen pairs, just looking for a lot of break of structures, really. Break of support, then more downside. Pound yen as well, break of support, more downside. Because I can't be looking to sell them now. I didn't get the pullbacks from the week before. And now I've seen some downside. Now they're approaching support. So now's not the best time to be shorting. So I need price to break through some floors first before I can get some pullbacks. Dollar yen looks really good as well. I like this opportunity here too. So yeah, pretty much the same across the board. Fonzo, where you based? Based in the UK. Yeah, based in the UK. Okay, guys, we have reached the end of the stream. I will be live again tomorrow, as I am every week. So if you guys are interested, make sure you tune in from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time every weekday. Make sure you're there. If you have enjoyed the stream, guys, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. And of course, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Check out the Elevating Trades Discord channel. I'm on there. I do share ideas there. If you want to share ideas, ask questions, see what people are looking to trade, you can check it out as well. Of course, you can find out more information about Elevating Traders there as well. So if you're interested, go check it out. Link in the description and also at the top of the chat. It's pinned there so you can't miss it. But guys, really appreciate you tuning in. Leave a like on your way out. But guys, have a good one, and I'll catch you all in the next one.